Hi there. Welcome back to Your First Book 101. I am your creator and host, Latasha LT Jimerson. My clients call me Coach LT. Today, I want to talk to you about the author mindset. This is part 1 of 10. Yes, this is a 10-part series, and I want you to watch all 10 parts so that you can understand exactly what it is that you need to do before even thinking about putting the words on the page and becoming an author. There's a certain mindset. So let's talk about mindset first of all. Let's break that down, mind and set. So when you set your thermostat to a certain temperature, like 72, 75, 78, I prefer 78. I'm just like that. You set it so it's plugged in, it's done, right? And it stays that way until you reset it on something else. So think about your mind. You were born with a clear mind, right? A healthy mind, healthy spirit. And then as life happened to you, you developed some limiting beliefs. You developed some negative thoughts, right? We have a negativity bias. Our brain tends to think of all the possible negative outcomes so that it can protect us and be ready, right? So it can be prepared for whatever the disaster is. Well, when you become an author, you become an authority, you become an expert in your field. And so you have to reprogram and renew your mind, right? You have to set your mind on something different other than what you've thought before. So everything that you've ever read or ever thought about what it means to be an author, I want you to erase that from your mind. I want you to start from scratch. When you start writing books and publishing ideas and putting them out into the world, you have a certain level of responsibility to your audience. You have a responsibility to be accurate, to be honest, to be authentic, and to be an authority, which means you have to be well read, you need to be well researched, and you need to know what you're talking about. So, the first thing I want to recommend for you is that you read, right? It sounds so obvious. It's like, really? I'm an author, so of course I need to read. But there are certain things that you need to read to make sure that your mind is set towards positivity, because whatever it is that you produce, whatever you create, is going to have a ripple effect on the people that are consuming your content. So you better make sure that what you produce is positive, healthy, uplifting, enriching, inspiring, and authentic. Okay, so here's what I recommend that you read every single day. I highly recommend that you read some kind of positive something. It could be a book of quotes. It could be a book of affirmations. For those of y'all that read scriptures, read a scripture a day. For those of you that have mentors, that are online mentors and social media influencers that inspire you, read something that they wrote every single day. And start to get into the habit of creating your own quotes, because your audience is going to want to read something that you wrote, and they're going to want to be inspired by it. So think about that. Think about the people that you're writing this for, and that's going to help you with your mindset. Think about the people who have inspired you the most. Think about the people that have passed away in history. Go back in history. Who are those folks that you love to read, that you look to for inspiration? If you were to go on Amazon.com right now and type in the most best-selling books under autobiographies, memoirs, pull up those names and see what you get. If you were to go to Google, I know this because I've done this multiple times, and you were to type in what are the best selling books in human history, number one would be the Bible. Okay. Then the other ones that would follow would be memoirs, autobiographies, and things based on true, real life events. Because people want to know, how did these people survive? How did they get through what they've been through? And how did they just become successful in the human experience? We're humans, right? The human experience is not easy. It's filled with problems and challenges. And so, as an author, I want you to develop the mindset. I want you to set your mind on positivity, because whatever you produce, someone else is going to consume. And you are going to start to influence the mindset of the people that you are writing for. And so I want you to start out with the right mindset, which is positive, which is uplifting, which is inspiring, or just don't become an author. How about that? Right? You have to have a certain mindset. And if your mindset is positive and your mindset is authentic, the people who follow you are going to be blessed. All right. That is all I wanted to say in this part 1 of 10. This is the author mindset. And this basically just means that you have the right intentions behind what you're producing, and your mind is focused on your reader. Whenever your mind is focused on the reader, you are going to produce good work. Whenever you start to think about yourself, I'm going to talk about this in part 2 when I go over the mental blocks that you might come up against. Right? When you go through those mental blocks, I want you to come back to this first video and remind yourself of where your mind should be set, right? When you start to think about yourself, you start to get blocked. But when you think about other people, when you think about your audience, then you start to develop a better mindset because the focus is on them and it's not on you. All right? That's all I wanted to share with you today. I'll see you in part 2. Bye now.